Yeah, I mean, I think the significance of the general strike is not just one of historical interest. It seems to me that there are lots of issues which have important contemporary relevance. And, let me just run through some of the most obvious issues. First of all, there's the importance of trade unionism as a basic defence mechanism of workers to attempt to redress the completely unequal employment relationship between workers and their employers, and to make it to try to defend their conditions. It also, I think, underlines the power of strike action. Yes, this was a strike which was defeated, but it displayed enormous power and authority. It was a strike that didn't arguably have to be defeated. It wasn't inevitable that this would be the case. But what it showed was, particularly whereas what we saw in the general strike was a coordinated strike. This wasn't just a strike, fragmented groups of workers in different industries going on strike roughly at the same time. It was a coordinated strike, a bit like the strikes that took place in 22-23 in Britain, that brought together workers and therefore increased their power and their coverage. And so it underlined the power of strike activity as a means to win better conditions, even if in this case that was not the case. It underlines, I think, in addition, the crucial role of solidarity, because strikes on their own without the support of other workers, and that could be in the form of money, of financial support, support on the picket line, support on blockading work, on sympathy action more generally, and so on. This was absolutely crucial to the survival of the strike during its period, and of course is the case today. When we think of the Birmingham bin workers strike, then we see not only the inspiration of workers prepared to fight through strike action and through their trade unionism, but the central role which solidarity with the trade unionists plays. I think also the general strike throws into question the nature of the relationship between grassroots union members and their full-time union officials. I mean, the outcome of the general strike, even though the strike was called off, it carried on for about another 6 or 7 days. Huge mass meetings of rank and file workers took place, decrying the way in which not just the TUC, but their own trade union leaders had acted. It expressed a large degree of disconnect between the leaders and the troops, if you like. And the question why this was the case, not just in the general strike, but which can occur on other occasions, it can be central to the nature of the dynamic of trade unionism, is one which I think is important to look at in history and to consider for today. I think the general strike shows the direct relationship between industrial militancy and political action. The fact is, strikes, they may not be explicitly of a political nature, but they contain within them political content insofar as they challenge the right of employers, their prerogative, and ultimately, particularly if they're strikes in the public sector, they can undermine government action and so on. And so considering that, I think is of relevance for today. And I think more broadly, what the general strike underlines is the centrality of class politics in society. The fact that we live still in 2026, as was the case in 1926, in a society which is divided by class interests, in which the working class is exploited, but which has the agency and ability collectively to fight back, and in which, therefore, when workers do fight back, are often confronted not just with employers or with the government, but also with the whole nature of the system itself. So I think, there is much to learn from looking back in history and then relating that to contemporary conditions.